Hey, it's Tony Fonte. How you doing? I help people heal to become themselves so they can get excited about life again, to manifest the life that they want and that is fun. All right, today's message I want to talk to you about, are you honoring and aligning with your polarities? Now, this is a question that I have come to my own awareness, and I'm going to be sharing with you a story behind how I came to understand that I wasn't honoring the polarities within me. And I noticed that I've seen these patterns within me in many different areas, and it just came clear to me in the last few days. And I'm going to go deep into how I came to these awareness. I'm going to share these stories. Why? Because my intention is that by sharing this, that it helps you see and get clarity on where you're not aligning and honoring the polarities within you so that you can move forward and actually create a life, a reality that reflects on the inside that you want. So hold on, I'll be right back to that. All right. So are you honoring and aligning with your polarities? So the last few days, and I'm going to be very honest and open and real here. I know I say that as if I'm not real before. But one of the things I value is deep vulnerability. And that's one thing I haven't been doing. I haven't been deep and vulnerable. And I'm going to share that here in a little bit. But this, are you honoring and aligning with your polarities? So I've gone, and over the last few days, last 2 months, December and January, it's been very, very heavy. I've had a lot of things fall apart. I've had a lot of things end. I've had a lot of things just completely shift that I didn't realize was going to happen, that I didn't expect to happen. But it pushed me to go deeper into myself. I'm being pushed and forced to deal with things that I was hiding or I wasn't going deep enough with. And now I'm being made to sit with it, being made and pushed to say, okay, now it's time. If you want this life over here, it's time to actually face this, because I've been holding on to these things that were no longer serving me. This timeline over here, these actions and things that I was doing, I was holding on to them over here for safety because it was known and familiar, even though it wasn't best suited for me. I'm still holding on to them. And because I'm being pushed, and I knew a lot of things intuitively to move through this, I was still holding on. And now I'm being pushed. No, you can no longer hold it. These are going away. And it got to the point where it was creating so much struggle, so much resistance that I just broke down. I couldn't do it anymore. And I'm being real with you now. It's just like I went through a freaking breakdown. I mean, it was probably one of the hardest things I've experienced in a long time, because I was holding on and I had to face what I was trying to avoid, what I was trying to hide, and holding on to these things because these things were no longer being supported at the energy level that I'm being asked to move to. And those timelines are moving, and I'm shifting into a timeline, and this is no longer being supported on this timeline. So that's where I'm at. I had this complete breakdown, and I've had many, many awarenesses over the past few days, over the past 2 months, but especially the past few days, as I went within, because I just had to shut down completely and just be with the pain, be with the suffering, the struggle. I had to get quiet so that I could hear God, the universe, the spirit to speak to me, because I was not listening before. So I've come to so many awarenesses, and this is actually one of them, aligning with my polarities. And I realized that I've had these polarities that I have avoided, that I was at one point, but I had an unhealthy relationship with these polarities, whether it be anger, because I used to be extremely angry. That's what I dealt with, and I overcome anger. So then I didn't want to deal with anger. I was like, no, I don't want anger at all. So then I'm going to go over here and be this nice guy, just nice, and okay, I'm going to have frustration, but I'm not going to deal with anger. I don't want to feel anger at all. So I just ignored it. I was like, oh, it's overwhelm. It's frustration, but I'm not angry. And then recently, actually in September and October, I realized that I had an unhealthy relationship with anger before, so I was trying to avoid it. So that was one polarity. And then it went to recently that I wasn't trusting my intuition. And I realized from childhood that why I avoided that and what that meant for me. And I'm going to share that in the later message as well. And then relationships, the mind and heart. I realized that, I was trying to do all this mind stuff. I was in personal development. I had all these businesses I was a part of, and personal development, mind. And I was still struggling to get somewhere and to get ahead. So then I realized, okay, the heart and body, there's that piece of it. So then I was trying to avoid the mind, and I wasn't honoring that polarity because I had an unhealthy relationship with that. There's so many more. The masculine, the feminine within, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, and realizing I had an unhealthy relationship with that. I realized I was, I had this fear towards the feminine, but then there was also this fear towards the masculine because of how masculine was taught to be raised. So then I was trying to go away from that. There's so many damn awarenesses that I've had, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many polarities that I have shifted from and I have avoided that I haven't been honoring. I haven't been honoring these. And I realized that by doing that, I was actually abandoning parts of me. When we do this, we're abandoning parts of us. Whether like the ego, I want the ego to die. That ego hasn't been good to me. It's messing me up. It's holding me back. So then I'm going to push that away. So we abandon those parts of us, abandoning anger, abandoning new intuition, abandoning ourselves in relationships. So much abandonment. And I realized that I was abandoning those parts of me like I felt abandoned as a fucking kid. That's what I was experiencing. I felt being abandoning. And so instead of accepting them, instead of honoring them, I was abandoning them. And then that reflection was showing up in my reality. So that was an amazing awareness that I've had. It's like, oh my God, I was afraid of that. But here's one thing, another awareness I had, and this is what I really want to share, the story of this here, is that I was afraid of being serious. I was afraid of being serious. So going deep, very deep into this vulnerability. Like I used to share vulnerable messages, but as I went deeper in myself, as I was growing and becoming more me, I realized that I didn't want to go deeper. I didn't want to go into the abyss. And I've actually shared this with an old friend of mine that I was afraid to go into the abyss. And she was telling me, she's like, well, you're pretty vulnerable. I go, yes, but I only went so deep. I only allowed you to see and feel the vulnerability that I want, because my fear was this: the darker I went, the deeper into the darkness I went. That's why I call it the abyss. This is what the vision I had and came to me. The deeper into the abyss that I went, the darker it came, the more fearful I was. If they knew the insecurities I was feeling, if they knew the fears I was having, the thoughts I was having, how dark things were, how they would leave. They would leave. I would be rejected and I would be abandoned. And that goes all the way back to childhood. I didn't feel safe. Why? Because I wasn't honoring those parts of me and myself. And I get emotional right now thinking about that. I wasn't honoring. I've been walking through abandonment wounds for the past 2 months. And so much with that. I'll be sharing so many messages about this. But it boils down right here. I was afraid to go deeper into the abyss. Even though I was aware of it months ago, I didn't understand this piece of it now until right now when I understood that I was avoiding these polarities. Well, I just smacked the camera here. Gotta be careful and watch that. Usually it's my hands doing this stuff, but my foot that time. I was afraid of being serious. And there's been parts of me where, like I said, I was sharing the vulnerability of that. I was sharing going into that. But I wasn't going deep on it. Then I went into the humor side of things. And then I would avoid the vulnerability. I'm like, no, this is where I'm at. And that's the beauty about who I am. I can go back and forth and flow. And I don't have to stay stuck with one way. Because it's how I'm learning. And this is how I learn. I don't necessarily have to keep on the same track. What feels good, what aligns with me, I continue to do it. So even though I had some things going on, I actually had the same friend mention to me probably a year ago. And she says, I didn't know there was a serious side of you. And she said, wow, you really got defensive on that when I said you were serious. I said, no, I'm not defensive. Serious is not my thing. And I realize now that, yes, I was being defensive. I didn't know why I didn't think I was because I wasn't aware of it yet. She was telling me, but it still didn't hit me until recently that, yeah, I was being defensive back then because I was afraid of being serious. Because I had an unhealthy relationship with being serious. Because to me, serious meant hurting someone or being hurt or having to abandon myself and abandoning the fun side of me. Instead of honoring and accepting both sides, because when I was angry, when I was controlling, when I was manipulative or trying to control, like even from the mind perspective, it was frustrating. It was overwhelming. It was so depressive. And I would hurt people and I would get hurt. Why? Because I felt abandoned. I saw my mom and dad have their own battles, their own struggles. And I realized that their battles and their struggles had nothing to do with me. But I abandoned myself because I felt abandoned. So therefore, I can't be serious because I saw that with them. And then I was doing that for so many years with anger, manipulation, narcissism, insecurities, relationships, abuse of physically, mentally, emotionally at times. And it was like, even with my daughter. And then this is why I healed anger. I went to break the generational curse of anger in my family, and I avoided it. And now I'm realizing, I can have a healthy relationship with anger. I can have a healthy relationship with being serious. And I've had so much awareness over this piece of it. And as I've gone through this growth process, and even the same friend, they've given me a lot of wisdom that I didn't quite follow because I wasn't ready for it yet, asked me a while ago, what if you phased out your characters? Because I love using the characters. And I realized, I'm like, no, I really have fun doing the characters. But I'll go ahead and mix the two. I'll mix kind of the deep message, and I'll mix the two. But I found out that it was really being diluted. And I've actually had a couple people over the last month, and actually even my breakdown, my best friend said, Tony, you're brilliant whenever you share messages, when you share these deep side of you. And I just continued to avoid it. But I was going back and forth. I had this resistance because I'm like, should I be the funny? Should I combine them both? Or should I be serious? And I've had this for a while, and I didn't understand the dynamic of it, the paradigm behind it until now. Because I was doing both, but I was avoiding one or the other. I wanted to be here, but I was not honoring here. And when we're not honoring our polarities, we're not honoring all of it, that what happens is we create resistance, we create chaos within, and then we create that in our reality. We create that in our business, we create that in our health, we create that in our relationships. We create the chaos because we're not honoring the polarities within us. And then because of that, we don't feel safe. And then the people in our lives don't feel safe because it's all energy, and it creates this resistance. So then they don't feel safe, so they pull away. I'm even in relationships, I've been the one who was emotionally unavailable, and I've been the one who was freaking needy and had this anxious attachment. It just it goes by, which is all childhood wounds. So when this person, my friend, asked me, what about phasing these characters out? And I said, no, I don't feel I need to, but maybe I need to start doing some more serious stuff. But then I was sharing some serious stuff, but I wasn't going deep enough. I would only go to the edge of the abyss, but I wouldn't go deeper. And so going into the abyss meant deep vulnerability, which is what I honor, but I was scared. Like I said, because of I'd be rejected. What would they think of me? Which really, in reality, doesn't matter what people think. What do I think of me? I honor and value deep vulnerability. So here's what I've realized through this. The deep vulnerability, the serious side of me, is the light. This is what leads people to healing. Because it's my Reiki massage therapist and my best friend both said, Tony, people need to see the serious side of you so they know how you help. So then I was going back and forth, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Maybe I just share some of these clips, but I wasn't going deep enough. And when I remember before, when I was being vulnerable at that level, that level of who I was at that moment, who I was being in that moment, when I was going deep, I actually connected with people. And then I still connect with it on the humor side, and people find humor in it. And then I have the messages with the humor. People love that. And I understand why now. I understand why now. I have clarity now on both sides of that and honoring both sides of that. And it may seem like I was kind of honoring both sides, but I wasn't. I was combining the two because it was safety to me. I was hiding behind one, avoiding the other. The humor, the characters that I share, I realize now that they represent the ego personalities of me and the ego personalities of the collective. It's the shadow side of us. It's the dark. It's the dark that actually leads us to the light. The deeper, serious side of me is the light. Both are needed. So what I'm going to start doing, you're going to see a new side of Tony. Not really new. It's a deeper version of me. It's becoming more of myself. I'm going to start sharing the deep vulnerability because it's needed. I'm still going to keep the characters because it's needed. And I'm going to share both. The shadow and the light. The dark and the light. The yin and the yang. So you're going to see me honoring all my polarities and sharing these deep messages with you. And actually even sharing that I was afraid of going deep and I've had a breakdown. That was hard for me. But no longer. So as I wrap this up, I want to bring this and ask this question to you. It goes back to the intention that I had in the beginning. After watching this, what polarities are you avoiding right now? What polarities have come up for you that you've been avoiding? And are you honoring them? Obviously, if you're avoiding them, you're not honoring them. How can you honor them more? Do me a favor. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Send me a message. Let me know what polarities came up for you and what you're doing to honor them so that you can become yourself more and so that you can create a life that's exciting as fuck and so that you can manifest the life that you really want and that is fun. I love you all. Talk to you soon. All right, so if you're wanting help, if what I said in this video about aligning and honoring your polarities resonated with you, and you're looking for fast breakthroughs, and you're looking for inner peace, and if you're looking for freedom, and if you're looking to surrender and let go of those old stories to heal so that you can become yourself again, I have a few options for you. I have the link below. Just go ahead and click, and whatever resonates with you, go ahead and book, and I'm looking forward to helping you. And also, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share and like and share it with your mama if it resonated with you, obviously. Also, to join the Facebook community, the Laughing Through Life Facebook community, which I'm revamping. I am growing and bringing it back to life again. And it's going to be filled with a lot of people who are on this same journey, who are wanting to become themselves, and they're high vibe and they're here to support. And you have a support group to really help move and push you and have a tribe to be a part of. The link is below. All right, talk to you soon. See you on the next episode of Laughing Through Life.